Oh yeah, I remember.
It's the Twilight Zone, upside down.
Okay,
We're in the upside down.
We are in the upside down.
Stranger Things is 3 comes out in like July 4th. You won't see me for 3 days.
Hi, this is Christina Dam, and this is Liberate the Podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. From spirituality, holistic healing, to creativity and conscious business, we've got your mind, body, and spirit covered.
All right. So we're doing. This is the first time we're doing live. This is called Deep Cuts.
Yes.
And it's just kind of the practitioners and the family here at Liberate. We just kind of have a little chat, just so people at home or wherever can kind of feel like they're in the living room with us. And,
yes. Come and chill with us.
Come and chill with us on this
Liberate Hollywood.
Liberate Hollywood. This hot, sunny California day, and I'm Angelo, and a lot of you know me. I'm the loud guy downstairs talking, and
with the long hair.
The long hair.
Who's always smiling and helping people.
Yeah. Oh. And this is Eleonora.
Nice to meet you. My name is Eleonora.
Eleonora, yeah. And she does healing and breath work, and yeah. Tell us. Wait, so what? Yeah. What are you
doing here?
What are you doing
here?
Who are you? Why am I here? Who am I? We're always talking downstairs, but sometimes it's hard to have good chats because we're busy and we're helping others and stuff like that. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of really just
get to know each other.
Yeah.
So I'm Eleonora Berenyi. I'm from Hungary, and I work here as a practitioner. Mm-hmm. I'm a Reiki healer and a breathwork facilitator. My journey, in a nutshell, that I moved from Hungary almost like 15 years ago.
It's been 15 years?
Oh, yeah. I've been traveling a lot. And
where did you travel to?
First, when I went to the university, I was really like easygoing, and I just hopped on the plane, and we ended up in Sydney, for example,
Sydney,
which was really far. We went to the Olympic Games.
You were there in 2000?
2000.
Yeah.
Yes, I lived in Sydney for three months. Then I went to Germany. I studied in Germany.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Yes.
Ja, ich spreche auch
Deutsch.
Nur ein bisschen. Wir sollen ein bisschen.
Yeah. She gives me the Deutsch messages.
Yeah, maybe there's some German speakers, and it's a shame.
I lived in Berlin a couple of years, and my Deutsch is not so good. I'm learning.
Unsere Deutsch ist nicht so gut, aber wir können es verstehen.
Genau.
Ein bisschen verstehen. Ich habe in Hamburg gewohnt. So I lived in Hamburg. I lived in Hamburg. I studied in Hamburg. Originally, I come from a advertising background. I used to be an art director for almost 8 years, and I was freelancing in New York. And when I moved to New York in 2011, I totally left advertising, and I left the corporate world.
You just said goodbye. Did you have like an epiphany, or you were just like, because so many people that have these like spiritual awakenings or whatever, there's like this crisis, or like they get sick, or they're just like they have a near-death experience, whatever. What was it that did it for you?
So I need to go back, because my first big experience was before I moved to New York and before advertising. So I started my spiritual journey 20 years ago. I lost my dad, and it was a very awakening experience for me. Now I can talk about it freely, because obviously this is the result of my 20 years of healing experience and my journey. But that was an awakening, and I started in Hungary, we suppress a lot. So people really don't talk about pain and loss. And
is this because of the war, right? Because I mean, pre-World War I and II Hungary, was there like a celebration? Was there like a good positive thing? But I know World War I and II just devastated a lot of the East blocs.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there was suppression. Yeah. So the Russians freed us, and then I don't know if that's the result. People don't really. They are not connected to their soul as much, or more of it might be our culture that we just suppress a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's I really experienced that here in America, that it's totally normal that you go to a therapist or you take care of your soul. Or if you feel sad, then it's more commonly accepted that people just reach out.
Or take a bunch of pharmaceuticals because you listen.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other way, but you can choose. And it's more, maybe because it's a bigger country. In Hungary, when I experienced that pain, I didn't know what to do. So all we did, especially within my family, we suppressed. We didn't talk about it.
Wow.
And so
you're such an open person too.
I
am. You have such a big heart, and you're very so that must have been tough to burst through that whole construct.
It was really difficult because also around me there were nobody spiritual. So somehow I feel there was a little light, and then it was like sparkling, and I felt that I was suffering, but I didn't know what to do, and I just knew that I have to survive. So I was just, surviving, and then somehow I think spirit helped then. Because the angels came in, and then there were a lot of synchronicities. Like I went into a bookstore, I just found a book, and then I opened it up, and it was about a psychic who actually was communicating with spirits.
What, do you know
are you kidding me?
Do you remember the name of the book?
No, I don't know. I don't remember any of the name or anything. It was just an experience, which I know it's synchronicity. That was a meaningful coincidence.
Everybody has their book though. Like some people have like The Alchemist or what was the Celestine Prophecy was for me.
Yeah, that for me was my first books as well. But also after that, we went to the cinema with one of my friends who lost, and interestingly enough, he lost his dad as well at the same time. And we ended up watching a film, and guess what was the film?
Dirty Dancing?
No. No, The City of Angels. So that was again like, oh wow, and everybody knows that, that's kind of a heavy film. It was the same synchronicity.
City of Angels, was this
the one Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage, and then basically it's about angels, and then Nicolas Cage falls in love with Meg Ryan, who's like a human, and then he's an angel, and he comes back to Earth, and it was like, it blew my mind. And then I had to do a presentation next day, and I didn't know what to do, and what was the topic is going to be. So I started researching, and I found a page about, I wanted to kind of talk about the City of Angels or angels, and then I found a page, and it was about people sharing their experiences with angels.
And you ended up in a City of Angels.
Exactly, which is again really like, it's a synchronicity. So that's how it started, and it just kind of shaped me in so many different ways.
Interesting.
So to fast forward, like that was like 10 years of like experimenting and reading. I always call it like the sponge state, when you just want to get as much information as you want and read and go to workshops, and then just you want to know about spirituality because you want to understand. There's this crave within that I just need to read this and know more, because there's this calling within. So that was my first 10 years. And then I think something shifted in London. I used to work in London in advertising, and then I took a course from Charles Virtue, and I became an angel
practitioner. Who is this again?
Charles Virtue
is he related to Dorian?
Dorian Virtue's son. And I'm so grateful I connected to him, because he's an indigo child, and he's amazing, very grounded, very gentle, very...
something I'm not.
Introvert.
I mean, I'm gentle, but I'm not grounded. I'm not grounded. I'm working on it. But so...
And then I became an angel practitioner, and for me the most interesting thing was that I went there with all my hopes that now I'm gonna learn how to connect with angels. I was so excited, and then
you were looking for Nicolas Cage, and
and then maybe he will fall in love with me, and then everything's gonna be sorted out. And you know what happened? At the end of the 2 years, 2 days. That was a 2 or 3 days course. I realized that I was already connected with angels.
It's all about remembering.
Really? But I really expected this big baboom of like, like angels with the trumpet.
Yeah.
It never happened.
because they speak in mysterious ways, right?
So that was my second biggest experience with spirit, but it deepened my understanding. And then I moved to New York, and by chance my soul discovered the first week my teacher. Like, I was looking for spiritual workshops, and at that point I was really connected, so I always followed my soul, and that's what I always suggest people to listen within, because I was looking for workshops, and I was looking at 10 different workshops. The first week I moved to New York, and I'm like, no, and then there was one lady standing in front of a huge amethyst crystal this big, like this, smiling, and she was talking about Peru, and I'm like, that's it.
Peru, wow.
So I went to her workshop, and done, and she's the biggest teacher of mine. She taught me everything, and she's a shaman teacher, and she's amazing. We became almost like sisters.
Didn't she say she had a crazy story of survival? Is that something that
yes.
Did you tell me something about that, I think?
Yeah, so I really love the way she expands consciousness, and she's a very humble and beautiful spirit, very wise and very funny.
Yeah.
So I think we connected because she's a light, and I could have never chosen a teacher who's like this. So
you're very light, and you're very humble, and
I think for me joy is the most important. So I got connected to her through joy. Like, she's really joking all the time. She doesn't take life seriously, and for me,
I think I'll get along. I would get along great with her.
Yeah. So to go back to your question, she was hit by lightning 2 times.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Like, lightning.
I can't. And she said that I don't want to. It's really painful. They were hiking.
No, of course.
They were hiking first time, and she was the first person, and then lightning hit her, and she flew away, and they had to bring her back. She was away for a few minutes, and she said it was a horrifying experience. And the second one happened to her actually in her home.
In her home,
like the lightning rod was broken, and she was alone. And again, she flew away, and then someone found her. So
I'm taking off my shoe. You took off yours.
It's so comfortable.
Excuse me.
Yeah, the deeper we go, we're gonna take off. And next time I will take off this one.
So, sorry.
And she says that when you are hit by lightning 3rd time, you become a shaman.
3rd time?
Yes.
So she had twice?
She will probably, but she doesn't want to.
I don't want to get hit once. So,
no. Yeah, so that's my journey, and basically
And what brought you to LA though?
That was the Reiki part. So she was teaching integrated energy healing techniques. So she integrated everything she learned in the last 30 years. The interesting part about it is that it's again synchronicity, because I just Googled her, or just ended up how I explained. And interestingly enough, I got to the workshop. She sat next to me. The first question was like, "Hey, where are you from?" "Hungary." Munci. Her parents were Hungarian.
And she speaks Hungarian?
Yes. How cool is that?
Isn't Hungarian the language that's very... it's close to Finnish, but it's not like
but it has nothing to do with Finnish.
But it has no roots. It's almost like
they say Ugor. The origin is Ugor, and Finnish. Ugor is a distinct language, and Finnish. I met Finnish people before. We didn't understand anything. The only word I know is "Minä rakastan sinua," which means "I love you." Minä rakastan sinua in Finnish means "I love you," which has nothing to do in Hungarian too. There's no connection. Yeah. It's a very difficult language because there's no. Most of the languages has got Latin or Roman base. Hungary is, you don't understand anything basically.
Maybe it's
Okay.
Did the camera die?
We did just lose.
But we're still on the.
We are still on the live, so you keep going, and I'll see if I can fix this.
We're in the spiritual business here. We're not in the technical business. No. Becca does an incredible job.
Yes.
At taking care of this.
Our little angel behind the camera.
Becca is an angel.
But actually, so I want to finish that story up because I want to talk about you two. You're not going to get away with it.
I know.
Even if you are asking your questions.
I don't even know if anybody's even watching on Instagram.
Really, in a smart way. So I moved, I was in New York for 10 years. I learned from her. I was a teacher assistant for many, many years, helping her, and became a Reiki 3 practitioner. And yeah, so through her, I got connected to shamanism as well. I had a very powerful experience on one of her retreats. I would like to mention that because I think throughout my spiritual journey, probably that was one of the biggest experience or spiritual, I was shaking. So we had like a retreat, and there was a beautiful musician healer who came, and then we were sitting in a circle, and everybody got their own instruments. So you could pick one. And then there were like drums, like shamanic drums and all kind of instruments. There were 40 people. And then I picked a drum, and then there was somebody who wanted to have the drum. So I'm like, okay, here you go. And she's like, no, it's yours. I'm like, okay. We sat down, and I was sitting across the musician who's a shamanic healer too. And we started, so it was an intuitive music. We were playing together, but nobody had any background of playing any instrument. So it was really interesting. And they just started playing on their instrument. And I started hitting the drum, and all of a sudden I realized that it was the loudest from the whole group.
You had the loudest drum?
I had the loudest drum, of course.
Because you were hitting it louder, it was like the biggest.
It was the drum was so, like it was like a really loud. And I'm like, oh my God. And then, so we all started playing, and then the shamanic healer had the drum as well.
Wait, hold on. I think this thing, I thought I put it on the moon. This thing, I gotta turn it off here. Hold on one second.
Maybe our divine.
It says,
our guides are calling.
Okay, we're still good.
And then we started like drumming, and all of a sudden I got into a trance. Like I don't know what happened. It's just some spirit come through, and I closed my eyes and I went with it. Like, so I just disappeared somewhere. I ended up in a rabbit hole or up somewhere in a different dimension. And something came through, which I couldn't understand.
Was it scary because it was at first, like scary, like, whoa, what is this?
It was not scary because I didn't think then. I went with it.
Yeah.
But I closed my eyes and I started leading the whole circle. And then he was the healer was the guide, but basically because I have the loudest drum, it's like probably some kind of past life came through. Sure. That's what I understand that I might have some shamanic roots. It came through, and then I was leading like the rhythm. I gave the rhythm, and then I went faster and louder, and basically I was leading the group with my rhythm, and I never played on any drums in my whole life.
Wow.
And we were playing 2 rounds, so we were playing for like 15-20 minutes, and then at the end, like I could intuitively feel when to finish it also. Like I really went with it, and then we got out of the trance, and my teacher was like, what was this? I'm like, I don't know, it was not me.
That's amazing.
So this was like really powerful. So that's for me a beautiful thing when that happens, and that's what I would like to teach to people through my work, to awaken their inner authentic power within.
And you're doing that. I've been in your breath class a few times, and I've taken a lot of good ones in LA, and I'm starting to teach one as well. But I really love your class. So
thank you.
When is your class?
So my class is on Thursdays.
Yep.
5:30 to 6:30.
Yeah.
And I incorporate shamanism and breathwork. My breathwork teacher was David Elliott when I moved to LA. That's when I went through the level 4 training. definitely I like to use rattles and drum, and because of that experience, it just comes through. So I cannot not pick up a drum or a rattle. I have to use it. I just feel like it's part of my healing method. And to go back to the authenticity, I feel like that's the most important message. What if I can share something today, to know that we are remembering.
Yeah, it's everything.
Our essence. Everything is there. You just need to remember. And then when you start going to workshops and you start going within, most of the healers will awaken your.
But it's a hell of a journey.
Yes. So now I would like to hear about your journey.
We'll talk about my journey. I'm just saying what I like. I'll talk about myself. Okay. But what I like about you and also Nikki that does, some shamanic drumming and healing, is that you don't label yourself a shaman.
No.
And I know that a lot of people, it's almost like, even myself, I'm a little wary of trusting someone that says I'm a shaman, because even myself, I've been told, I need to get into study shamanism. I can't even say the word and this and that, and even that word itself is kind of a little bit in a mystery, and it's like how you use it. But it's just, I think I respect that you and Nikki both kind of just. You're just here. You're like, you have a really profound respect for the power that's coming through when it does. It just comes through. It's not through you. It's through God, or however you want to label her.
Yeah.
And it's interesting for me, like the whole shamanism thing. There was a connection. I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter.
Yeah.
And I grew up with like U2 and the Beatles and all this stuff. And there was an interview I read with Bono from U2, and he said there was something. He said there's something that struck me very profoundly. He said when I first saw B.B. King, B.B. King, the blues player, playing, and he would take this energy from the crowd and he would put it into his guitar and he would send it back to the crowd, the music. And he says, I knew that he was a shaman. So that made me think, okay, so the shaman is not just somebody that's in a circle, or just like in the ceremony, like in Papua New Guinea or in Peru with ayahuasca or something. It's somebody, it can be an actor on a stage, it can be an artist, it can be anybody that has that can take this energy from somewhere and transmute it into something of a higher vibration, or send it back in a healing way. And that when I read that, it was just like really powerful. So I think our jobs as artists is it needs to be. It's very sacred,
Yes.
Even if you're like a comedian or like one of them, like Russell Brand or whatever. I don't know. Like I'm just trying to think of somebody that's like says a lot of dirty jokes and stuff. I think it's very sacred too, because it's healing,
Yes.
And
now that you mentioned, I think that's a really good point, because I truly believe that creativity is a form of healing. So
absolutely,
that's actually second chakra. And then when you start creating, if you think about it, the most beautiful piece of art in poetry, they come from pain. They come from suffering. It's about a platonic love, or you write a song about the heartbreak. Why? Because you transform that pain and you channel that pain somewhere, which comes out to the universe. So you actually give back, you exchange. And that gives back energy to you and heals your heart. So it's a circle. And I think that's the highest form of healing.
Absolutely.
So all the artists, all the painters, they are healers, because when you look at a painting, it's just the energy is like, whoa, how many times I listened to your song actually, and I feel I always call it like it's encapsulated emotion, or your heartbreak or your pain is encapsulated in that 3 minutes.
But for me, that is the greatest feeling that is when I used to play with some rock bands in LA. I had a couple of rock bands in LA, and it was like blues, classic rock, whatever. And we'd play a show, and just like when we had when it was like a good show, and you felt it, and it was like, to me, nothing felt better than that, and it was just like such joy, And even just, I don't know, when you play a song and someone's moved by it, and it's funny because sometimes when you play and any musicians can relate to me on this. Sometimes you can play and you can feel like you had the shittiest performance ever, and you're like, oh man, that was like freaking horrible and blah blah blah. And then somebody comes up to you and they were really moved. But polar opposite, sometimes you can think you played the best ever. And you're like, I really felt good about this, and then you're like, and it's just like not as, and it's just funny how
that's the same with healing.
Yeah,
that's the same with our classes. You're like, yeah, this is so good. And then,
the universe has a great sense of humor and a way to keep us. I think there's a power in humility, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, because also it shows that like. It's really the same with healing, that you need to let go of what you think is healing for others.
Absolutely.
So that was my teacher, breathwork teacher, is David Elliott, and he's absolutely amazing, and he's very connected to spirit, and he expresses that as well, that like just because somebody not gonna cry their eyeballs out, it doesn't mean that healing didn't happen. It's their own way, or just because somebody is not, like show emotions right then, or start screaming or whatever, like physically you cannot see, it doesn't mean that. So like that's your expectation about how they have to heal, and you have to let that go.
All those expectations.
Yeah, if you let that go and you just show up, and actually that's what I love about breathwork. That I always say that you need to do the work. Like I hold space for your healing, and that's actually I learned that it's a really, really important and difficult task, especially after learning all the modalities. For me, it was difficult because I intuitively want to put my hands on and give Reiki, and that's no. Their process is to heal their own soul.
Yeah,
and I'm a container who's making sure that your healing process is safe and you feel safe to release.
Yeah.
And then I think that's why breathwork is powerful, and I'm really enthusiastic about it because your soul has to work for it.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, that's human nature. If you don't have to work for something, you don't appreciate it.
It's so true. No, it's true.
That's why breathwork is perfect. You need to feel that you are working hard, and it's work. It's like intensive 35 minutes breathing, 3-step breath. You do that for 35 minutes. Yeah. It's not an easy task. Like you will feel physically challenged. You actually, when I first tried, my ego freaked out because I got cramps and I had all this physical sensation and didn't know. I didn't expect because I was not told. Yeah. Which is fine, but like I really thought that something wrong is happening within my body, which is your ego. Yeah. Which is like part of the spiritual process, that your ego always thinks that, oh, I'm gonna die, because the ego cannot control anymore and freaks out. Yeah,
it's so true. Yeah, I've had that. I mean, even still when I do sometimes breathwork, I get dizzy and I get shaky and I'm like, I just get vertigo and stuff. I just want to see, because I know how we're doing on time here. How much time do we have? Have we been going?
We are probably at a little less than half an hour.
Okay. So you know what? We'll just because we have to keep it about half an hour.
But like maybe can you share about your breathwork? Teaching experience.
My teaching experience in breathwork. I just really started teaching breathwork, to be honest.
Which is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a good friend, Guy Douglas, who's well known in the community, and I met him. I went to one of his breathwork. He had his first. It was like a breathwork sound bath in 2012, and Jeanette Marie, who actually worked, she used to be a healer and reader at the Emporium. She took me there, and then me and Guy hit it off, and he just started doing that. He had been playing the gong for years, and we just hit it off, and he'd have me play like a couple songs or something after, whatever, and then before I was helping him hold space. But I kind of went away from that route, and I took, I helped him for years, and I took off to Europe and do my music and stuff. But now I'm back for a while, and I'm feeling called to inspire to do that, to teach that. And I see so many people doing it, so I have a class, and I've...
When is your class?
My class is Sunday, every other Sunday. I forgot which one. Is it
what time?
It's at noon.
Then okay, so you can check it out on the Liberate.
It's a good, I do it with my friend Chastity. She does like a restorative yoga poses, and we do some gentle breath work. It kind of, when it's Sunday, you're trying to recover from the weekend, and it's good. I just started, and people have been happy so far, and I'm learning just like everybody else and stuff, but
it's the biggest learning step, and actually it's really great that you got out of your comfort zone, because I think that's what happened to me. I really didn't want to teach. When I started teaching, I was like so reluctant. I was really happy with my private clients, and then actually my teacher was like, okay, who teaches more groups? People put up their hand. Who teaches more private? I'm like, me. They're like, okay, so people who teach private, they have to teach groups. I'm like, oh shit. It's really a challenge, and I think that's, again, growth happens when you get out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's a really huge journey for you as well, because
I feel called to teach. I mean, like, I definitely feel it. It's like, I'm like, people are like, oh, we should teach this, that. I'm like, I don't know what to teach, but it's like I never really, I've dabbled here and there, and I've taken this. I didn't go to some like, yoga. So it's just like but I feel it's coming, and for me, it's been a big step, because to me, like, performing music in front of an audience is not a problem, but like teaching or talking and stuff like that, it's been a learning curve. But
I have a question for you.
And then we'll wrap it up, and then we'll.
That's the last one.
And then we're going to talk about our event on the solstice.
Yes.
Because we have an event with Nikki.
My last question.
I'm holding this because I'm feeling the need to ground today. So.
Yes, that's important. So, can you please share the most, and then I ask you to be a little bit vulnerable, which is very difficult, but the most difficult experience in your life that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome?
Wow. I was living with somebody who was in a bad place, and they were in a bad place with drugs and stuff, and I had to help him out, and I supported them for a year, and during that time that year before I did ayahuasca, and like 6 months after that, like, shit hit the fan. Like, this is first time for me. Like, I'd always been able to feel like lower vibrational things, but it was like I was getting full on attacked by, like, and I'm just gonna be honest, like, I was getting full on attacked by the dark side, and which is the dark side is just, it's all teachers and stuff, but at the time it scared the living bejesus out of me, and
I can imagine.
There was just, I felt like my kundalini or something was moving a lot. There was a lot going on. I spent a lot of time in nature. Griffith Park was my best friend then. And I just didn't know. I felt really, really alone. And I mean, during that time, because I didn't have the support I needed, not just them, because like when I did ayahuasca, it was like 2006, and there wasn't, like, this was down in Peru, and now there's more support because there's communities that do it here. So like I told the shaman, he's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You have to come back here. I didn't have the money to go back to Peru, and then at the same time having to help take care of this person and stuff. And through that though, I met a teacher, and she taught me a lot of things, and I studied some qigong through her. I really got into Chinese medicine and some other healing modalities, and she really helped me with my music. But through that, and then through that I met,
Do you think, so what was there a single thing that helped you through, or it was all the modalities you were learning through?
It was God that helped me through. Like, not gonna just, when you're just bare, you're lying in the desert, parched, not having drinking water all day, kind of feel, you're just like,
so God,
I surrender. It's just that surrender to God, and whatever it is, I spent a lot of time praying in church, but it wasn't, I went and got like baptized and stuff again, but like I realized, that the organized thing doesn't work for me.
It's the same for me.
But it just, really helped to strengthen my relationship with Christ.
And the faith.
And the faith thing, and but also it introduced me to some other powerful healers, like the Green Tara, who she's kind of like, Kuan Yin-ish Mother Mary in the Buddhist tradition, and she's powerful and really helped me a lot. And also just trying to get. I know that I've been told I have some Native American teachers help me, so I can't always feel it. I'm not that clairvoyant and stuff, but I know I got a lot of help.
Yeah.
If not, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's very important that and thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked, because that's the biggest lesson I get, that when you show up and then you show your vulnerability, things start shifting, because that's the reason why you got that experience, is to have your connection with the divine, and then help to be stronger.
Yep.
That's definitely it's always an experience when things happen, really shit hits the fan. That's where we learn some very big lessons, and then that's our gem. We need to integrate it into our heart and integrate the experience and help others through our experiences and share the experience.
Sometimes when you're going through those kind of things too, it's funny when we're when life is good. I mean, life's always good mostly, but when when it's this and that, and something happens, we got a parking ticket or this and that, we're oh my god, and then when shit really hits the fan, you have this existential experience, and you really have to just surrender every fucking thing to God.
Yes.
You almost, when you see those first couple miracles where it's God shows up, and then you're and you feel supported, but stuff's still coming at you, but you just learn God's got this. I'm gonna get through. This is.
Yeah.
It's almost sometimes when you're going through it really hard, it's when you got that support, it's almost easier.
Yes.
Than when things fall apart when you're doing good. I don't know how to explain it, but
I understand, and also I think it's important that you learn that you were in a very difficult situation, and then there was a higher power and you surrender. Then you kind of know already that experience, so you will know that next time when it happens, the circumstances will always change. So that's why they say, and I believe that you need to go within.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, the inside, your inside power, or the connection to the divine is the most important. And then the environment will change all the time. But since you had that experience with the divine, it's easier to flow through life.
Well, sometimes, but then it's sometimes, then it settles down again. Then you get back into your mundane kind of thing. Yeah. And then, but it's just when things come at you, and then all of a sudden you just have forced to really surrender. I don't know.
Yes. I always like to say that because I love trees, and then I grew up in my dad used to have our own hobby garden, and I planted my first walnut tree, so I'm very connected. So I always like to see that life is we should be like a walnut tree.
Yeah.
Standing. What do they do? The walnut tree is there.
Yeah.
If so, I like to imagine us as a tree.
Yeah.
Like the walnut tree, which I planted 20 years ago.
And now it's big. Walnuts now? Is it still rolling? I think it's still going. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we got paused. I gotta learn how to do. We gotta learn how to, because when
we are experimenting. So no matter what's happening, whether there's sunshine or rain or snow, the walnut tree is just standing there. Even if there's a big storm and cutting off the branches, it just stands there and just gives beautiful oxygen to the environment.
And walnuts.
And walnuts, which is my favorite, which is good for your brain. So I think that's amazing, because it's they don't expect anything. They just stand there, and no matter what happens, they are strong with their wisdom.
Strong within,
Strength within, the wisdom, the roots. They are connected to Pachamama, and then from above as well, the sunshine comes through them, and then they just shine. They just make us happy, and
they give so much. They give so much shelter.
And no matter what happens, they just stand there.
Yeah.
And that's and they know that, there's this connection with the sun and the earth and the air.
Everything.
No matter what happens, your circumstances does not matter. The most important is that you find within the wisdom that it's all gonna be good.
Yeah.
And then you are surrendering, because when your ego is just very contracted and controlling, that doesn't bring any.
It's true. And we all get,
that's not good.
yeah, and we're all. I mean, for anybody that's listening or whatever, like some of them, it's a life journey that like that like I don't think you ever. Or, I mean, I wouldn't know, but I'm just saying, teachers that I look up to or whatever, whether they're musicians or actors or in the spiritual community or whatever, that they're like, you look up, you're always going to be tested. This life is
it's very true.
It's
all about challenges.
It's a school, you know?
Yeah. And it's a very good point. Like, I feel like it's all about the journey. And then even as a healers or facilitators, we are all the same. We are, maybe we have the gift to help people awaken their own gifts. Yeah. But we will learn until the last day of our lives. And
then that's just our another life. We learn forever.
Yeah, we learn forever, and that's why actually whenever you are awakened, it's a beautiful journey, because you keep growing. And that's the most important. You are just on a different level of understanding. For me, again, like it's really important that, like, I don't know, 10 years ago I kept hearing like, love yourself, la la la, and I never fully understood. But really, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then when you grow, then you start. It's kind of, like in school, you learn a lot and hear about the same exact things, and then all of a sudden you know how to write. It's the same thing with spirituality. Like, your understanding grows as your soul is more awakened.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with the love yourself thing. It's funny too. It's such a cliche.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I don't have enough of these like yogi tea things. Love yourself. But sometimes the things that are most cliche are the most things that are most true. But when that's true with that, I tell people that when that did click for me, the love yourself thing, because I can be so self-deprecating to myself, and like it's everybody can be that way. But when I shifted it and started to give myself a little bit more self-love, my whole world shifted. Like, and I kid you not, because you put out what you put out, it just comes back. Yeah,
and it's very interesting, because for me that was a huge understanding, where I understood that as I expanded within, I started to understand that self-love is not only about being kind to yourself and doing the right things, but self-love can be to say no.
Absolutely.
And to like cut off people from your life who are not kind to you.
Yeah.
Or self-love is about what you eat. Yeah. Or it's about stop self-sabotaging finally, and then procrastinating, and then doing the right things at the right time, and then going to the gym, and then waking up, and maybe first thing in the morning, prioritize yourself, not your work, not your whatever, your Instagram, your Facebook, but yourself, and do the work.
Yeah.
And for me, breathwork helped me with that, because I was a queen of, like self-sabotaging.
Yeah,
I was like, I knew it, but I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And breathwork was the first method in my life which helped me to cut through all that.
Yeah.
And when I finished breathwork, I'm like so clear and I'm so connected. It's
amazing how you feel after writing.
Yeah, it just helps you see clearly and see that, okay, I was self-sabotaging again, or I procrastinated and I didn't go to running or to the beach, even if I live next to that for 3 days. Or I woke up and I started working again, like at the first second when I woke up.
Oxygenating the body.
When you start, that's this self-love to realize that, okay, actually my priorities are not that. My priority is me. And that's when things really shift. Yeah. And it can be 5 or let's say 1 hour or half an hour.
Yeah.
But you get out your journal and you start writing, or you just go to the beach and then you connect with, you take off your shoes and walk at the beach. So it's like that's self-love too. But for me, like the boundaries was a big, setting boundaries, which is self-love. It's big self-love and saying no two opportunities which doesn't serve you at all, to people, to anything like any kind of life situations.
Yeah. This is like a free class if you're watching.
Sign up at www.liberatefam.com.
This is nothing y'all don't know. Everybody knows. Let's sit on, because I think we're about it. But this has been fun.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again. And
give me the selenite a little bit.
What?
The selenite.
Oh, you want the selenite? Yeah.
And then your hand.
Oh, yeah.
I was like constantly.
She didn't want my hand. She wanted the selenite. So we have a class. So we have a class coming. Oh.
It's awkward.
Is it? What is it? Kumbaya.
No, I just wanted to hold your hand because I felt like you thought I only want your selenite.
Oh, yeah.
No,
okay.
I want your hand too and your love because you are cool.
So we have a class coming up. I don't know what it's called. A workshop or an event.
It's a workshop. So the difference between workshop and class is a workshop.
And then we'll wrap it up. And then
okay. So workshop is 2 hours, and that always covers like it always covers. We go deeper at a workshop, obviously because of time, and we always cover a very important topic. And this is gonna be a celebration of solstice. Summer solstice,
which is extremely powerful.
Yes,
one of the most powerful times. The veil is so thin.
Yes, and in many cultures they really celebrate this day, the lightest day of the year. And we're gonna have a shamanic breathwork, shamanic sound healing journey, and Angelo is gonna play as well.
I'll play some guitar. I'll play a couple songs.
And sing.
I think my friend Jeanette might join as well.
His friend, and it's gonna be just a celebration of us.
And Nikki's gonna be with us as well.
Nikki Bridges is gonna do the shamanic sound healing part. I will lead the shamanic breathwork.
And if you don't know Nikki, Nikki's a regular here.
Yeah.
She does her Tuesday sound baths, and she does stuff on Thursdays, and she's got the very powerful vocal channels. So check that out, and you're gonna be doing the breathwork
so there's gonna be a breathwork and then a shamanic healing sound journey at the end, and we're gonna play some music,
I'm very
and then
excited.
we're gonna jam at the end, have drums, and I will let what I told you about before. I will let that energy come to whatever I experienced many years ago.
And the energy, I know when I've taken both your and Nikki's classes, it's very powerful. So I'm very excited to work with both of you. So.
And also it's really important also that we combine the divine masculine and feminine energies, because it's the celebration of light and darkness.
Yeah.
Without darkness, there is no light. So.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're always hanging out. So thanks for doing this. And
thank you.
You did amazing.
It was fun.
Finally.
Fun. This is the longest time we talked.
I know, because we're always working.
We're always working.
It's good.
It was actually fun.
But cool. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll see you in the next one.
See you next Friday. Hopefully you can make it.
Yep.
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself.